And I come in guns blazing. Welcome back to another double shot of awesome, everyone. And it's Chris. Chris is back!
Yay, Chris is back.
Chris is back.
We're starting off with a Chris rapid recap. And if anybody follows the podcast, we know that Chris's recaps aren't actually that rapid. But anyways, 15 seconds of childhood jumping over a pond, 5 feet across. 8-year-old Chris was a badass, and bam! Falls backwards into the pond. Apple cider is made from spiders, everybody. That's what my old man used to tell me.
Oh, really?
What would I do, Warren, in interactive story time? I would grab my beating stick. I have this stick. It's from an old Christmas tree center. It has, like, hard plastic parts. I'd grab the beating stick, open up the door, and beat the shit out of the out of that goat, or the cat that's on the goat. And as the cat comes in, I would take my stick and I'd just, like, wind up like a baseball bat and just wham! Right into it. Also, it's called Norwick. Norwick. That's how you say the word. That's where it happened.
What did I say? Dinnerwick?
Yeah, you said like Dinnerwick.
Dinnerwick.
Also, fuck going upstairs. That kid is trained to come down to me. He looks through the window, and then we look through the window together when we're assessing the situation. Sean, don't run away from bears. Man up and stand your ground. I'm gonna put now ducks. Now ducks. Those things you just punch in the face and tell them who's who. Warren, I can't believe that your tragic story ruins story fun time. I was really upset about that. Also, I would check the wallet for ID, kids, pics, and money. If I just found money on the ground, money is money, and finders is fucking keepers. Like, that's the way that it goes. That's the way that it goes. To Alex, my knowledge of Scientology is from Wikipedia and South Park. South Park win right there. South Park is winning. It depends on the challenge, but I'd always attempt growth and growth mindset, because mindset equals success. And when you push your brain to the brinks of failure, you learn more from overcoming those failures, because you keep living because you've overcome everything. So growth mindset is awesome, and I can't believe that nobody talked about that a little bit more.
Thank you.
Sean, things aren't always acceptable in the workplaces. This is one of those things that wasn't acceptable in regards to the Top Gear comment. And Warren, you were talking about people you talk to over the phone. I get calls offering me free credit cards. And because I'm me, I always actually want the better deal. Example, Scotia Visa Bank, they called me because of a Scene Points visa or something. They called me 3 times. I answered on the 3rd time, and they offer me points enough to go for 2 movie tickets. And I'm the kind of guy that's going to say, I don't want 2 movie tickets, I want 10 movie tickets. Give me somebody to talk to so that I can get 10 free movie tickets. And that literally just happened.
And so did you get a new credit card?
No, because they refused to negotiate. And then I tweeted out at them. And I was like, hey, Scotiabank, get your shit in gear. If you want me to use your credit card, be willing to make a deal. Right?
Interesting.
So I think that companies that are calling you in order to try to get you to buy something or subscribe to their product or something like that, their initial offer should only be an initial offer unless that potential customer wants more.
Interesting.
Because what is the value of my business putting through all of my money now through Visa transactions as opposed to, let's say, MasterCard transactions?
Well, it's interesting that they're offering you 2 free movies, because there are other cards that offer you a free flight. You know, points enough for a free flight.
Or other things that are more tangible than movies that you could hold on to for longer. I know that if you sign up for some specific team-associated cards, maybe it's Visa, maybe it's MasterCard, whatever, I don't know who it is. But if you sign up for, the Chicago Bears themed credit card, they're going to send you a duffel bag full of Chicago Bears shit with Chicago Bears logo on the fucking duffel bag. I'm using Chicago Bears, I don't know why.
Speaking of the Chicago Bears, we're going to go see the NFL draft in Chicago this year.
That's why I was bringing it up.
Nice.
It's unfortunate that Alex isn't here today.
Yes. So Alex and I will be going to attend the NFL draft in Chicago. And it'll be a good time to see, people get drafted and be in the environment, line up in lines to get our tickets.
You're going to go in there guns blazing? Pew, 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 pew.
No, that's no.
No, not that day.
But it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. Chicago's a really great city. I really enjoy going there. There's lots to do.
It was really fun when you guys were trying to sell me on going, because I'm not the sports guy. They're like, yeah, but you can go to Chicago. You don't have to go to the end of the drafts or anything.
There's so many cool things though. Like
I would
there's
love to go to
awesome
Chicago.
museums and
Yeah.
art facilities. Like it's a very creative place.
Yeah, I'm already
Absolutely.
planning on taking Alex to the Museum of Science and Industry all Saturday long. It's an awesome place. I've been there twice. It's like I can just go down and be there by myself the whole day and just learning
Just
about so many
enjoy.
different things. It's really, really cool.
Nice. I would love to go there as well, but yeah. Speaking of those credit cards, I actually wanted to bring up a topic in the question that how much do you think organizations value that customer service relationship now? How much do you think people value that? Because I recently had an excursion where I'm relocating and I have to go to a bank to apply for another mortgage. And I had an interesting occurrence transpire, we'll say. And it really made me question the facility that I was dealing with. And reconsidering that, I mean, there's so many other options now when you're talking banking. Like you can have a bank and it can only be online. You can never have to talk to a person at all. It's
love
all
that.
internet transactions. You love that.
I love having not to talk to people. And it sounds like I'm, just really introvert is the word.
You're
very
introverted.
introverted. But the honest answer is that I hate when people make mistakes because I've been dealing with my mortgage issues. I told them exactly what I wanted. I wanted a fixed rate, and they offered me a really good rate at that. I wanted to have an accelerated bi-weekly, and then I didn't want life insurance or any other crap that comes along with it. And I got a notice in the mail about a week ago saying that I have life insurance with my bank right now. I never signed any of the paperwork.
I thought that life insurance was required in order to get you a mortgage with like 5% down. You need to be qualified for the specific insurance so that the insurance goes good if the house and if something happens to you, the bank could get their money back.
Sorry, I mixed it up. I actually I never got life insurance with them in the first place. It was disability that came in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's completely different.
Because I live by myself. I have no one else that's living with me. If anything does happen, I would move back to my parents' place and we would sell the house. So there's really no need for me to have it, and they kept pushing it on me.
Makes sense.
So are you paying for disability insurance?
Apparently, I'm paying $4 a month for it right now
on your mortgage?
on my mortgage.
Oh yeah, that's a phone call that has to happen.
Well, then I had a little bit of negotiation with them, and they offered me a lowered rate because of the issues, which
Wow.
was like a 0.01%. But still, that's good. I'll
You
take
went in
that.
with guns blazing.
What about
And-
you, Warren? Sorry.
I don't know.
Well, I told them straight up, okay, this is wrong, and this is wrong. We need to change all three of them. Had a nice sit down. I didn't, I wasn't upset or anything. I just said, this is what I want. I got another letter confirming everything we went over. They hadn't changed a goddamn thing.
Of course they did.
I was so pissed off. I got to go back in there, and of course, I'll have my guns blazing.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really have many things to purchase like that. I don't have, I have car insurance, but I've definitely been toying with the idea of getting life insurance, mainly because now's the time to buy it. When you're younger, if you get like a fixed rate or something like that, now's the time to do that. And I'm gonna have a conversation with people about what to do because I am serious about getting that. It's something that I can afford, and I think it's something important to have. So if something were to happen to me, then I can at least have some form of money on the side to help my loved ones either take care of me or grieve for me or whatever, take care of any debt that I have, which I don't, but
One of the lucky ones.
yeah, for now anyway. Debt will definitely be in my future 100%, but we'll see when. But as far as going into the bank and getting what you want, hopefully I'll have an acceptance letter in a little over a month, and then that way, once with that letter, I'll just walk into a bank and be like, all right, we're talking like $250,000, $300,000 loan at prime. Thank you very much. If you're not going to give it to me, I'm going to the next guy who will.
Yeah.
So that'll be me with my guns blazing.
Because there will be another guy who will.
Absolutely.
And that's the point.
Absolutely. In my particular situation, that will hopefully happen in the near future, I'll have a lot of leverage, and where I can do something like that, I'm going to be providing you with a very solid income for the rest of my life, essentially. And it's a very big investment that you need to make in me, but it's a very safe investment, and it will pay off in the future, sort of thing. So
Exactly.
yeah. But we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it does happen, like I said, but you never know. Life can always throw you curveballs.
There's a really good story came out of Germany a while back. There's a guy who was negotiating with his bank about his credit card, and they didn't really want to give him what he wanted. And finally, they sent him the terms and conditions for his credit card. All you need to do is sign and send it back, and he would have his credit card. Well, he actually went through, re-edited the terms and conditions for his credit card. He then signed it, sent it back. The bank signed off on it, and he had like a no-interest plan with unlimited spending power. Like, he had to give the money back, obviously, but no interest on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
Because he went through the effort of editing that document, and then the bank signed off on it.
because they didn't want to read through it, but he did.
Wow.
That's really interesting. For me, I mean, like, I don't know if that'd be a big deal for me, because whenever I buy something, I always use my credit card, because if you use your debit card, you're not getting anything back, and with your credit card, you get like 0.1% back, but at least it's something. But with that said, because I use it so frequently, I pay it off very frequently, so I don't ever have to really worry about going over my limit. Well, I don't have to worry about going over my limit, because my limit is high enough for me. And also I don't have to worry about, not making payments on it, because I do it so often, and it's only one card that I really need to check. However, I have been toying with the idea of getting a second card where I can use one for like in-person purchases and one strictly for online purchases.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I was talking to that Visa card, and I was like, okay, yeah, you know what? Maybe I will sign up for your card. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But give me something more. Give me something else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I went into the bank recently, and I had to make an appointment to talk to somebody about getting a mortgage through that local institution where I'm relocating, right? I went into the bank branch that I already deal with, thinking that it would be an easier time, essentially, right? An easier transaction, an easier thing, because I had a really good relationship with the person who dealt with me last, right? It was a good experience. We'll say it's a plus. I go in there, make my appointment, go back a week later to have my appointment, and get greeted at the door by the customer service manager to tell me that so-and-so, who I was supposed to meet with, isn't available because of a family emergency, so-and-so is now going to be able to take care of me today.
Totally understandable.
Exactly. I say, okay, sure, fine. That's understandable, professional. Have somebody of meaning meeting me before I even meet the other guy, right? So that's good. Go in there, talk with the guy. We're going through a conversation, find out that, like, I'm finding out a lot about him that I don't really need to know. Like, I'm there to deal with my business. And I find out that he's new to the branch, he's new to the area, kind of like me, right? Because I'm going there and starting to relocate, right? So I think that what he was trying to do is find that common ground, right? Which is necessary to a point, but sometimes there's people like me who just are there for their fucking business and don't want to deal with any other shit, right? Like, I'm not there to make friends, I'm there to go get a fucking mortgage, okay, as far as I can see. So we go through stuff, he drops a ball on me, that because instead of 5% being required for down payment, he drops the ball that because this area is quote-unquote a restricted area, that I now have to put 25% down.
Of a house payment is a lot.
Of a house payment.
That's
even on $80,000, that's like 20 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? 25%, 1/4
That's
of the
insane.
house.
That is a lot of money.
And $80,000 is a lot of money, but it's not when you're looking at a house, but it still is, depending on where you are, right? So just as that is a ballpark, that is a substantial amount of money. I walked out of the bank still having everything going through because I need to relocate there. And now I have the stress of that night trying to figure out how I'm going to come up with this now 25% as opposed to 5%. I have the 5%, okay? Now I have to make 20 more percent out of that. Like, how to come up with that in an instant, it's not the easiest thing. Not only that, because my wife and I are separated, I have to call her, tell her the news, and there's added stress. There's an entire fiasco. It's an evening of stress, right?
You're not separated. You're just living.
We're living in different areas. We're separated by space. We're
Yes.
not. We're together. Buying the house
physically,
together.
yes. Okay.
Physically different places. Go on.
300 kilometers apart, right? So, buddy, replacement guy, calls me up next day in the afternoon. After I've had an entire night of stress. My wife has now gone to bed with a migraine because of it, and I've had to talk to family, which I really didn't want to discuss things with. Now I've had to talk to them to make other arrangements, right? But he calls me back. He's like, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. We thought you were refinancing your existing house and thought you were going to need more money, and now actually you only need 5%. So it's like, okay, great. That's good news. Stress relieved, gone. Now I have to call my wife, and then it's like, but why did he make that mistake? right? Now I'm a bit concerned. Because my wife and I are in different areas, right? She's not able to drive to where I am. She has to make arrangement at another institution. Has to sign paperwork. She has a conversation with Buddy. Buddy fucks it up. She asks him a specific question regarding payment, like payroll and stuff like that, direct deposit, whatever. He says yes. Calls her back 10 minutes later. Says, "Oh, sorry, no." This is two things that this guy's fucked up now, right? They're small things, but now I'm worried.
Yeah.
And I know that I have another meeting, or she has this meeting with the bank, with the institution there a week later. So now I have a week and 4 days of stress that I don't know what's going to be wrong, but I feel like there might be something that goes wrong. Sure enough, guess what happens? Something goes wrong. Person here with my wife has no idea what this person has done. We've talked.
No.
The 25% wasn't changed, so the application still says 25% down, not 5% down, right? And she calls me and she's like, the person that I dealt with had no clue what this douche was doing, this buddy was doing, right? I'm like, okay, really? That's what happened? She's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I gotta get in the truck. And I get into the truck and I drive down to the bank and I walk into the bank, guns blazing. Pew, 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 pew.
I'm surprised
Bang.
we're not out of bullets yet. This is crazy.
Must be like The Walking Dead or something, never running out. Pew! So I go in there, I tell somebody, I wait in line, which it's the end of the day. There's literally 15 minutes left. I wait in line, I talk to a rep, ask to talk to a manager, and make a new appointment to see the person that I was supposed to see. That's what I go in there to do. Can I have an appointment, and can I talk to a manager? Yeah, sure, we can give you that appointment. What's it about? And I'm like, it's a long story. We have to talk about it. She's like, okay, and so on goes on. The actual person that I have the meeting with comes out, greets me, we talk a little bit. I'm starting to feel better because we're now making sure that I'm talking to the right person, right? But what has happened is still upsetting.
Mm-hmm, of course.
So manager isn't in, but there's a customer service manager that's here, and he's dealing with all of the people as I'm taking up these two people's time that were in line behind me. So I'm like, okay, I take their cards, and I go to walk out of the building, and I walk out. And then I was like, you know what? No, I want to talk to that guy. Turn around, and I walk back in, and I sit down. And one of them comes up to me and they're like, is something wrong? Can I help you? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to wait to talk to manager here because I need to talk to somebody about what's happened. And we went in and had a very nice conversation, we'll put it that way. I didn't explode or rage or, raise my voice or anything like that. But we had a very civilized conversation about how you should value me as a customer. I'm coming in here to your institution in person.
Just before you keep going there, your normal level talking voice is scarier than you yelling. Just so you know.
But his guns were holstered.
That's
the
true.
Guns were holstered.
I mean, yeah, right.
They didn't have to come out, but the little pea shooter of words that I carry around, that was going off like crazy in that office. Let's put it that way.
Squirt gun of hate.
So people who know me can understand how difficult that meeting would have been, and it probably took 20 minutes of his time.
Yep.
But it was a conversation that needed to happen, and now they're willing to treat me as somebody who's important. Because I feel like without having that conversation, he literally told me, he's like, it's not often that we have a stranger, somebody who's not from here, come in here and be able to earn my respect. He
Wow.
said that. And I was like, well, that's good, but this is still what went wrong,
Yeah.
right? I appreciate that. But you guys messed up. So that's why I wanted to tell you that story in the sense that you can't let the companies, bog you down. You can't let them institute what exactly has happened. And that was a really long
Absolutely,
story.
especially in a customer service perspective, right? And they always say it's not really about the deals that you offer, it's about the customer service. Customer service generates return customers. And so I think a lot of the time companies will get too focused in on the dollar value, which is important. I don't want to downplay that from a company perspective, and especially with if you have stockholders, things like that. Revenue is very important, but to get return customers, it's the customer service.
Absolutely.
You're going to go somewhere that you feel that you were treated well again.
You know who really values customer service? Is the crew at Double Shot of Awesome. You can visit their website at doubleshotofawesome.com or follow them on Twitter at 2shotofawesome. Shameless self-promotion. I can't say words.
Shameless self-promotion segue.
Oh, your words are just crazy there. So I had a fun article that I read the past couple of days from Forbes magazine. I don't know if you guys have looked at that at all, Warren.
I have not. No.
I figured you would be the kind of person that would read that. So Chris, you might find this interesting. Canada, nice, that's good beer. Canada is labeled as a third world country.
I believe it.
According to companies like Netflix. Because our internet is so terrible, it's actually under the barrier for a third world country.
I thought that conversation was going in a completely different direction about how serious we were, because there are things that make Canada in certain areas like a third world country. But in terms of internet speeds,
we are one of the worst in the world, apparently.
Worst in the world.
One of the worst. We're not the worst. We still have like luxuries like fiber. Fiber's not spread throughout a lot of places where it is in Canada, but our rural areas are so ignored that it's actually kind of disgusting when you look at it from other places.
Especially when it's a service that now the government is making people use in order to pay their fucking taxes, and it hasn't become a utility or an essential service yet. Like, that's ridiculous. There won't be change here until that happens, man.
Yeah, well, it's just sad because there's people in like I don't even know what country to say at this point. There was a guy on Reddit who took a picture of his internet speeds. And right now, I'm paying a good chunk of money a month. I get maybe 25 megabits down and 1 megabit up, which is, megabit down, that's fine. That's all you need. Upload speed, I'd like to have at least 3.
Yeah, but I was going to say at least 5, but yeah.
But we can't get it here.
Of course not, because our internet's so shitty.
So on top of all that, this guy takes a picture. He's like, yeah, this is standard internet. He's paying a little bit less than me when you convert the exchange. And he gets 100 up, 100 down.
Oh my god.
Then he goes outside and takes a picture of his road, and there are potholes everywhere. There's just like dugouts, and he can hardly drive to work. And he's like struggling to live, but his internet is so much faster than ours.
I think Canada has a unique issue though with its geography.
Oh,
there is a lot of rural population, particularly in the area that we live. So, things would be different if you were living in downtown Toronto or downtown Vancouver, wherever, right? Because there's such a high population density. Of course, you're going to get strong internet there. But when you have rural populations, it is not economically feasible to lay such a high cost cable to run significantly faster internet to an area that's only going to service 5,000 people. I mean, from a perspective that you want to provide this service, yeah, absolutely, and it's important, especially as a customer, to have fast internet. But at least our internet is reliable. I'm going to argue
it is.
But again, like, I understand the problems that Canada faces with providing fast internet to everybody. My internet is way worse than yours. I get 5 megabits down and like 0.2 megabits up.
You're lucky if you get 0.2.
Yeah, it's really bad, but it is what it is, and I can't really do much about it. It's just based on where I live.
Actually, I've thought about this problem multiple times, seeing as I'm relocating to one of those places that'll probably have internet speeds similar to you, Warren. And I've come up with a solution. We treat the internet like a radio wave. We put it on all of our national radio towers, and we basically provide cellular internet to everybody at faster than LTE speeds, and everybody pays the government for their internet usage through tax. And then it's like free Wi-Fi everywhere all the time that you can get a radio signal.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's called Wi-Fi Max, I believe, or WiMax. That does exist. Some of the bigger countries or cities have that, and it's a subscription-based service where you pay a monthly fee so you can access, and you'll have Wi-Fi wherever you go, because it is a radio wave essentially, and you just Wi-Fi throughout your city, and any of your wireless devices can connect to it as long as you have a proper subscription for it, which is definitely an interesting principle.
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot, just because we do have strong ties to the cellular community, and we understand like the basics that go behind it. What if instead of going through all these different things of running cables, what if the government could issue some sort of cutback for cell phone companies to start creating a government-based cellular service with unlimited internet access?
That's what I was just talking about.
Maybe I missed the detailing of it.
That's literally what I said, that we put all of that government stuff on the radio towers.
I took that as a different different
Okay.
level. Like I thought you were just talking about like radio frequencies for calling more so than data service.
No, data service because it was internet.
Now there's a huge problem with this as well, and this is kind of where I don't know what to do past that. It's like current internet, the way it works right now is you get your central hub, whatever that location may be in the center of town, and then that spreads over to nodes. These little nodes are based in your communities. And then from those nodes, it spreads out to homes. So if you are on this node, like I'm on my streets node, and if all my neighbors are using the same internet provider, my internet just gets slow, beyond belief slow.
That's what
Yeah.
was it? DSL was?
DSL.
Or no? Yeah.
Cable.
Cable.
Was it cable?
Yeah.
'Cause DSL is a little bit more reliable in that sense.
Oh,
So
you know what? That makes so much sense because when it's like after school, the internet bogs down where I am right now.
Yep.
And, like everybody's on the same cable.
they start watching Netflix right after school.
And it bogs right, like so much so that it buffers like every 3 minutes.
Yeah, but on the
It's-
weekends it seems to be consistent.
No, at
for the
like
most
2 in the
part.
morning. Well, yeah, 2 in the morning, or like at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's super fast because everybody's still asleep.
So I mean that makes sense on that level, but cell phones will work the exact same way. The more people on that tower, the slower it's going to go. So it would have to be just for rural communities. The problem is, like, how do we define those rural communities? How do we get the towers out there? How can we create like a cheap way of doing it that's going to last a long time? And there's no answer there. Cell phone towers are expensive, and that's
Life costs
Yeah.
money.
it
That's
does.
What, that's what people work for, is to pay tax so that you can build infrastructure. And that's a problem that I have right now, is that not a lot of infrastructure is being built. But we don't want to talk about problems. We want to talk about solutions, right? What happens if you were in a wheelchair and had to go get groceries?
If I was in a wheelchair and had to get groceries,
How would you get all of your groceries, Sean?
my honest answer is or go on the internet
Mm-hmm.
and order my groceries online, have them delivered to me.
Interesting. Because it would be an inconvenience to go out to get them, right?
Yes, you got an agenda with this, but
What about you, Warren?
That's a great question. I've never considered the solution to that. I think that I would like to hope that I'm independent enough to, and I would still like to keep my independency to be able to wheel to the grocery store and do that myself still. I wouldn't be making huge purchases by any means. I would be buying within my means of being able to transport it back to home. But if I'm living in an area where I can't go to the grocery store, then I would probably be relying either on a taxi or a friend or family member.
So you would be putting extra pressure on somebody in order to
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes.
That would be the only real solution. I mean, like, online is absolutely an option, and that's a great idea. And Amazon, for example, sells food, but in our area, it's not really that feasible. Like, you can't really do that here.
Well, I've got the solution for everybody, and it was developed by a Canadian individual. It's actually a student from somewhere. This device is called the K18 Grocery. This is a device that somebody designed in order. It's like a shopping cart that you can hook to a wheelchair. I wasn't able to find any specific pictures, but it was a really interesting article, and maybe I'll try to hopefully get it linked somehow. But in the description below there, and you feel free to check it out. But it was a really ingenious way, and it was a problem that I had never really thought of either, because I'm not somebody who is in a wheelchair all the time, right, or ever.
sometimes I hop in my wheelchair to go out. But
it definitely brings a different train of thought to your brain, right? It's like, wow, like something that I take totally for granted, like going to the grocery store, can be very difficult for other people that are just that are in a wheelchair there.
Absolutely. So what exactly does it do?
So basically, it connects to the wheelchair so that you can pile your groceries into the wheelchair. Into your stuff, and it like goes with your chair, and it's very easily maneuverable. The target markets are like elderly. Or people that have suffered in some way, and yeah, it's pretty cool, and it goes to show you that more inventions like that should be happening, as far as I'm concerned. And how to get the lips to be their plumpest through the means of Botox or other saline and injections and stuff like that. I think we should, as a human race, be focusing on that kind of thing.
the second you inject anything into you, I can't find that attractive at all.
Like like butt
disgusting.
fat into your lips? You don't just love that? You don't like those?
As
big,
much as I want to
luscious
kiss
lips?
your ass, no.
Aw, come on, Sean. It'll be fun.
Have you ever seen? There's like we are a small community. We don't have too many people that have injections like that, but there are a few people around here that do. And they are just disgusting to me.
Yeah, not my concept of beauty at all. That's for sure.
Like I would have much rather seen the natural kind of look.
He liked the natural beauties. Everybody who's out there and didn't listen to last week's intro, Sean likes a natural beauty.
Yeah,
And that's the truth.
that is the truth. Not me making a awkward dating audio.
If you
clip.
didn't hear last week and you want to be awkwarded out, definitely take a look back at last week's podcast. It gave me the heebie-jeebies for a couple minutes, that's for sure.
I listened to it back and I got a little scared of myself.
I would be scared of you too.
Well, you obviously are. Warren, you and I had a conversation yesterday. I think it was one of the more interesting conversations we've ever had.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I clearly value our conversations more, but okay.
Wow, yeah. So you invited me over for some dinner, which I thank you again. It was very delicious.
Yeah.
Some dumplings. But the conversation came up about sun cycles and how much time that you'd spend in the sun or how much daylight there would be.
Yeah.
So the question worked out to, what if we could control the sun cycles? What would be the ideal amount of time to have the sun up in the sky versus how much time, would it be, gone? And this is assuming there's no one else in the world. It's just us in this small little place.
So I was arguing that we've become adapted to the sun cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Our circadian rhythms are adapted to our regular sun-night schedule, day-night schedule, and if we start tampering with that, things would get really messed up. But then, and Sean agreed. So I said if we could change, if we had the power to change the sun cycle, we wouldn't, because it would mess too many things up. But then Sean said, well, what if we were able to go back in time prior to when we became used to the sun cycles, so, through evolution, things like that, and change them then? What would be the ideal sun cycle?
Because there had to be a point where, the sundials were all made and we actually calculated the amount of time and we ran it up to years and months and we actually calculated all this stuff. What if we could alter it? What if we could have like a 24-hour sun cycle and then we could turn it off for 8 hours to sleep?
So like our entire cycle would then be 32 hours as opposed to 24?
Yeah, like we'd obviously have to change the calendars. We'd, have a different dating system. But what is the ideal amount of time to have yourself awake and sleep if it was controllable?
So you're talking about being awake and being asleep and the most effort put forward from that time then?
Yeah, or like
Well, for me, I think that if it would be interesting to, let's say, have the light on all the time, would sleep have evolved ever?
I think it would.
Well, Leonardo da Vinci slept for 4 hours at a time. The Renaissance man slept for 4 hours at a time, was rested, and then went back to work for as long as he could, and then slept for 4 hours.
Exactly.
Got back to work. That kind of thing? Is
I
that
couldn't
where...
remember the name of the person. I didn't want to bring it up, but that's the exact thing I was trying to bring out.
Oh.
So he found his own sleep cycle, and he worked off of that, and clearly it had some effect on him.
He was also a man of many minds, so he could have, we don't know the guy, right? But, I mean,
He could have been crazy.
He could have been a crazy pot or schizophrenic or something like that with multiple personalities, and every 4 hours a new one came out or something.
Regardless,
I don't know.
how many years later, we're still talking about his work, so there's obviously something he's doing right.
Some sort of genius, right?
There's a fine line between the genius and the mentally insane, so...
My main question is, for what purpose? I mean, if we had the power to go back in time and then change sun cycles and that kind of thing, I question the purpose. And if it's for productivity, then I honestly think that we should have darkness of about 8-10 hours. If I were to put a number on it, I think that it should be dark for a good solid 8 hours where we are, or a good solid 10 hours, so that we have an hour buffer on either side of our sleep cycle. That we go to sleep in the dusk and we wake up in the dawn.
So you keep it the exact same, obviously.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I like what I got. I don't know anything different either.
So it's
it's
more
not like I've lived up in Alaska or anything.
Yeah, it's more of a hypothetical, like obviously Alaska would base their time zones and time frames around the rest of the world, so they would, go to bed at 11 o'clock, wake up at 7, and continue their day, even though the sun hasn't changed at all. And I think, Warren, you brought up a good point. Whenever there's like a lack of sunlight, people do tend to get depressed. And
Yeah, so there is a higher incidence of depression and suicide in remote northern communities because of sun cycles where it's darker for pretty much all day long for months at a time.
Now, are we talking in specifically Canada, or are we talking about worldwide?
I'm not sure about worldwide, but I have heard of studies in Canada anyways. That's because that's where we're from and that's where I'm most familiar with.
I would also argue, we mentioned about third world countries, and I was thinking about things going in a different direction. I would also mention that more northern communities tend to be not as what we understand to be as developed, right? They don't have all of the services that
totally,
that Southerners
resources
have.
aren't there.
And I think that suicide plays a reason for that as well. I mean, you can look at other countries, I'm sure Finland, I mean, not to be racist or stereotypical, but I have heard stories where people in the Nordic European countries are known to, end their own lives, that kind of thing. Right now, is that because they're not getting enough sun? I don't know. Maybe it's
I'm sure there are many variables there, and that's something that I think, as far as studies go now, it's not something that we can really understand. But then also I started thinking, what if we can control our sun's cycles, can we just control the sun wherever? So let's say we would have a normal sun cycle for wherever people live, but if we designated certain zones for farmland, kind of like what we do now, but just make it on a much greater industrial scale and have the sun on farmland all the time. Do you think that would be beneficial to crop yield?
I think it would be beneficial to population as an entirety if the world worked as one cohesive unit together. But I don't think that will happen, because it'll come to the point where we'll have to have population restriction, right? We'll reach that maximum potential for holding our population on the planet, and I think that would be a much more difficult situation to deal with if that were to be controlled everywhere.
why do we still have daylight savings?
Because
some old white man thought it would be a good idea.
That's the only reason I have for it right now. Like, we don't need the extra sunlight. Literally, we don't.
It's because of the tilt of the Earth. It throws the time of the day off a little bit.
Yeah, but is it really that big of a difference if, like, it's a little bit lighter in the morning and...
It does. I mean, I was being restricted from leaving. I had to leave my house at a certain time so that I could drive 3 hours and not end at my destination in pitch darkness, right? I had to time that out. So when we had the time shift, I got an extra hour at home before I had to leave.
Okay.
It's true. Some places don't have daylight savings.
Yeah, we live near a place that doesn't have one.
Exactly, yeah. But, I mean, I see the purpose in it. I totally understand it, because nobody really enjoys waking up to pure darkness.
See, like, I can see originally, like, people kept saying it was for farmers. Farmers would start their day really early, and then, like, right when the sun came up, and then they would work for the whole time the sun was up and then go to bed. I don't think shifting the hours in the day that much are going to affect it that much at all, because they never really ran off of a clock. They ran off of the sun. I don't see a purpose for it anymore.
So you're saying that no matter what time it is, farmers are going to do what farmers are going to do at whatever time suits them best and to their typical needs of that day.
That's exactly what I mean.
I think that's the perspective that you bring on, because you, like, your hours vary throughout the day, right? Because, like, you could be working from starting at 1 o'clock till 9 or something like that, or you could be starting at 9 and ending at 5.
Okay, so let's just say I have a 9 to 5 job at this point.
Yeah.
I go in every Monday at 9.
Yeah, and leave at 5. Yes.
And
that's what a 9 to 5 job is.
And let's just say...
Wait. So when you start at 9 o'clock and then you end at 5, that's a 9 to 5 job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's not 9 and then 2 and then 5. It's 9 to... So... I think the question I have there is, does it really matter how much sunlight is out during the hours of my day?
Yes.
Why?
Because it makes you feel better when you wake up and there's still a little bit of sunlight, versus when you wake up and it's just purely dark.
Also, the world doesn't revolve around you, and there are other people who need the benefit of light.
I'm trying to find
the
reasoning for it, like, other than just being out in the sun and being happy.
Greater good, man. People got to sweep sidewalks and clean roadways. You can't do that in the dark to be able to see where the dust is. People got to be able to, there's people who are working night shifts and stuff. They shouldn't have to drive home in the dark every day. Like, they should get the benefit of driving home in the light, go to work in the light if they're working midnights or something like that.
I've worked a job
There's people like me who travel vast distances, and in order to stay with their loved ones for longer, they want that extra little bit of hourage of sunlight.
I've worked a job where I finished up at 2 o'clock in the morning almost every single weekend. Every single time.
Yeah.
And I would drive home in the darkness. So I don't see that as an actual valid reason.
Well, that's because you're finishing at 2. It's never going to be light out at 2.
When it comes to taking down the shed in your backyard, you're going to value that extra hour in the day. You're going to be like, yeah, now that we're finished this job, I have 1 hour of sunlight to crack a beer, sit by my fire pit, and enjoy the rest of this evening.
If I'm sitting by my fire pit, it better be dark.
But dusk, right?
Yes. And I'm not saying like you show up at 11 and, if we did it on this day, 11 o'clock would be, when the sun's already up in the sky, or this 11 o'clock on the next week where the sun is, a little bit lower in the sky. I don't see the big difference on there. If we're going to fix my shed...
maybe that's personal preference. And you're totally entitled to that, but I still see the point in having that extra daylight, and clearly Chris does as well. So, I mean, it's an interesting opinion.
Hashtag no more time saving.
I will come to the point here. I'll end my final point and thought on this is that by having the sun rise at a later time and the light being longer for later in the evening, the chances of me being able to experience and capture the beauty of a sunrise in the morning is much higher because I'm awake earlier when the sun is just starting to rise. And coincidentally, I'm up for longer in the evening, and now I will have that higher chance of being able to capture the natural beauty in a sunset because it's closer to a more convenient time for the schedule in which my life revolves around.
That was very touching, Chris. You might have changed my ways.
Almost poetic, one would say.
Almost.
Well, gentlemen.
So what's something you do that you shouldn't do? Who's that? Was that...
Who do you think that was?
That was Warren. That's got to be Warren.
No, that's Sean.
What?
I'm going to take this as a compliment.
Okay, sure. Yeah. You take it as a compliment.
No, I had a very itchy inner ear the other day, and I just decided to shove a Q-tip in there to try and clean it out. And I know that is something you are never supposed to do, but everybody does it.
I did
most everybody
until I got an ear infection.
I mean, again, I'm not totally sold on you shouldn't use Q-tips. I don't think you should be purposely shoving earwax back into your ear, but I'm not totally sold on that yet. I mean, I don't think there's enough studies to show a difference yet. I mean, if there are, I haven't read them, but anyway, if you know that you shouldn't do it, but you did it.
I did it just because it basically was a way to itch my inner ear, which I can't normally do.
Well, it depends on where the itch is, right? If your itch is in your eustachian tube, which is between your ear and your throat,
hashtag science,
then you can't scratch that. You can actually feel depending on how flexible your tongue is, you can actually feel almost like the beginning of the connection between your throat and your ear.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, depending on how flexible your tongue is. So if your uvula, the little dangly bit at the back of your throat, right beyond that, there are 2 holes at the top that go to your ears. So if you use your tongue, you can actually feel your uvula. If you can push back a little bit further, you can actually feel holes back there that
I'm so scared of swallowing.
Or empty space.
You're not going to swallow your tongue. That's impossible.
It's possible.
You're not gonna swallow your tongue, Sean. It's impossible.
Not
you should
doing
try
it for you. No,
but to get back on topic, things that I know things that I do that I know I shouldn't do. I don't wear a mouth guard when I play hockey.
That's terrible.
But I don't play contact hockey anymore.
That's not the point.
I'm playing a men's league where everybody has jobs and wants to go back to their job. They don't want to hurt themselves in hockey, so people aren't hitting each other. Hockey, however, is a contact sport. It's not a hitting sport. So there are going to be times where you run into people, and that's something that you have to deal with. As a bigger person, and I'm very comfortable on my skates, I've made the choice where I'm fine, just because I don't know. I guess it's just the inconvenience of having a mouth guard. I don't value that I should have one, but I know that for safety, and you guys know me, my saying is, what's more important than safety? Nothing, unless if it's more safety. And that I probably should. So that's one thing that I think that I do, as well as not often, but I will occasionally indulge in a little bit of deep fried food or sugar or whatever.
That's probably the most popular one is food and working out.
So my thing is, though, they say that you don't eat this stuff or you use that water bottle or whatever because it causes cancer. My thing is, almost everything causes cancer, so I'm going to do whatever I enjoy. The thing that I do that I know that I shouldn't do is, like, I'll pass, when I'm driving, I will pass slower vehicles because I don't want to go that slow, or I'll find a place and I'll go do some donuts. Like, if there's 3 inches of snow on some hard-packed snow, maybe some ice there, you bet your ass I'm going to take my truck and try to do a couple donuts. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I when it's, somewhat safe?
That's another really good one is speeding. Like, they have set speed limits. Everybody goes past them. You're not going to do 50 for the whole time you're driving down that long country road. You're going to do like 70 or 80.
Well, on that note, make sure you speed, do donuts, and eat greasy food. I'm Chris.
I'm Sean, and I do not support anything he just said.
And I'm Warren.
This has been a double shot of awesome.